Good evening, everyone. Today we're going to be making a sticky cherry cake. So using those cherries we canned a couple weeks ago. I'm going to start with 1 cup of granulated sugar. And 2 tablespoons of softened butter. I'll let that mix for a second. Okay. Now you can see we have a very yellow, fluffy sugar mixture now. And to that, I'm going to add a pinch of salt, a teaspoon of baking powder, and a teaspoon of vanilla. Alright, we'll let that mix for a second. Alright, now I'm going to add a 1/2 cup of flour. Sorry about my oven preheating there. So that's my 1/2 cup of flour. Alright, now I'm going to add 1/2 cup of heavy whipping cream. Okay, now I'll add the other 1/2 cup of flour. And 1 whole egg. Okay, so that's the consistency and color that we're looking for. And now we're going to mix in our cherries. Okay, so before you mix in your cherries, you want to make sure you get down to the bottom of the bowl, make sure everything mixed in well. Alright, so now we're going to add 1 of our quart jars of cherries. That is part of them. I need to strain the rest real quick. Alright, and we'll gently fold in these cherries. I know it looks like a lot of cherries, and it actually is, but this becomes more of like a cobbler cake, kind of a custardy cake. It's a very soft cake, not a stiff cake. Alright, so there's that done. Now we're going to take our pan, spray that real quick, just to make sure nothing sticks. This is sticky cake, so it's gonna stick anyways, but that helps a little bit. And then just pour your cherry mixture in. Make sure you get all the sides. Nothing's worse than a wasteful cook. Spread this all out. and just swirl your cherries in better. Alright, now this is going to go in the oven at 325 for, I'm going to put it in for 20 minutes to start and see how it looks. The recipe actually says to put this in a 9x9 pan. I only have an 8x8 and I prefer it a little bit thinner, so we're going this way. Alright, stick it in the oven. So the next part of this cake, what makes it sticky, is to combine the cherry juice that we drained off of the cherries. So I forgot to mention, but don't throw that out. So we're going to combine that beautiful cherry juice, which if you remember already has some sugar in it, so I'm only going to add half a cup of sugar and 1 tablespoon of flour. We're going to give that a mix. And I'm going to turn that on to medium. And I'm going to bring it up to a boil. And once it's boiling, I want it to boil for about 8 to 10 minutes or until it's getting thick. Okay, so after your sauce has been boiling about 8 minutes and has gotten thicker, you're going to add 2 tablespoons of butter. You turn the heat off first. And then you're going to add a splash of vanilla. And give that a mix. And you're going to let that butter just melt in there while your cake finishes up. So here's the finished cake out of the oven. You can see it gets nice and brown around the edges. And we're going to take a knife, the end of a knife, and poke some holes. You can see it's quite sticky cake. That's okay, that's normal. Then we're going to take some of our sauce and drizzle it over the top. And so now you can kind of see how it's like more like a cobbler cake. I'll get that all drizzled over. Now let that sit for about 10 minutes before you try to serve it. Number one, because it's hot like lava, but also to let that sticky really seep into the cake and make it nice and sticky.